Grieving single mom Claire Morgan boards a night flight with her daughter, expecting nothing but quiet sorrow. But when a stranger intervenes during a tense encounter midair, her life pivots in ways she never imagined. Ethan Cole, a reserved, ex-military man with a painful past, steps in with silent strength, and a connection begins to form. An unexpected layover leads to a shared night, deeper conversations, and the beginning of trust. But when ghosts from Ethan's past return, Claire must decide if love is worth the risk. 30,000 feet below the surface is a powerful story of healing, quiet heroism, and finding family in the most unexpected places. This is a story you will want to sit back and enjoy. Before we start, I would like you to subscribe, like and comment on this video from where you are watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories. Let us begin. Claire Morgan wasn't new to pain. In fact, she'd worn it like a second skin ever since becoming a single mom, and again when her mother passed away just last week. Now, 32 minutes into a night flight from Denver to New York, Claire sat in seat 22B with her 5-year-old daughter, Sophie, fast asleep against her arm, her small chest rising and falling in that peaceful rhythm only children seemed capable of. She was hauling grief like carry-on luggage, trying to keep her breathing quiet. Her seatmate, broad-shouldered, hoodie draped, and radiating calm, hadn't spoken a word. She preferred it that way. Alone was familiar until he spoke. Not him, but a man a few rows back. His voice slithered through the cabin like something oily and cold. Bet you'd be warmer without that jacket. Why don't you take it off, sweetheart? Claire froze. Her blood chilled. Sophie stirred but didn't wake. She didn't respond until the man's hand brushed the back of her seat, fingers creeping too close. Please don't touch me, she said firmly. The air turned brittle. Then a shift. The man beside her moved. No grand gesture, just a smooth, silent rise from his seat. He placed himself squarely between Claire and the creep. Not aggressive, just present, steady, and undeniable. You need to stop. 3 quiet words from her seatmate silenced the row more effectively than a yell ever could. Who the hell do you think you are? The creep hissed. I'm the last person you want to test at 30,000 feet. Within minutes, a flight attendant appeared. The man behind them was removed, still muttering empty threats. Her seatmate sat back down like nothing had happened. Thank you, she whispered, still rattled. You're welcome, he said, scanning the cabin again like a man who never truly relaxed. When Claire asked if things like that happened often, he said simply, too often. You shouldn't have to say thank you. That kind of thing shouldn't happen to anyone. She found herself curious about him. He didn't move like an average civilian. You don't seem like a guy who works in tech, she joked. Military? He replied after a pause. Air Force. Retired. Sort of. No elaboration. Just that. They landed unexpectedly in Nebraska due to weather. The delay was long, frustrating. But when Ethan, she'd learned his name, carried her bag without asking and found them a warm corner in the terminal, Claire felt something else. Relief. Maybe even trust. Not the worst place I've been stuck, he murmured. Not the best either, she countered. At least no one's shooting at us. That one landed differently. Later, when hotel vouchers were handed out, Ethan didn't ask, he simply said, she's with me. Claire didn't protest, not after what he'd already done. They ended up sharing a motel room to narrow beds and thin walls. She tucked Sophie in, unsure what to say. Ethan offered to take the floor. You've done enough, she replied. In the golden glow of the lamp, silence stretched until Claire asked, do you always step in like that? No, he said quietly. Only when I know what silence can cost. Then came the name, Marissa. She'd been an interpreter in Afghanistan. Brave, brilliant, gone, lost because Ethan had waited for confirmation when instinct told him to act. She didn't make it. The air grew heavy with unspoken sorrow. Claire shared her own burdens, raising Sophie alone, caring for her mother until the end. She thought that was strength. It is, Ethan said. You're still standing. She laughed for the first time that week when he handed her a water bottle and muttered, hydration helps. By morning, the skies cleared. Ethan stood ready at the motel door, bag in hand, hoodie zipped. In the cab ride back to the airport, Claire watched Sophie draw, while Ethan read. She stared out the window, caught between sky and ground, and something deeper she couldn't name. Landing in New York was bittersweet. A T baggage claim. Sophie, naturally drawn to Ethan, reached for his hand. She's a strong kid, he said. She gets it from her grandmother. Thanks for everything, Claire whispered. Take care, Ethan replied, and walked away. She thought that would be it. But that night, with Sophie asleep, Claire searched his name, Colonel Ethan Cole, decorated for a rescue mission overseas. The article was short, the photo grainy, but there he was, the quiet hero who didn't ask for thanks. The next morning, her doorbell rang. Ethan stood there, holding Sophie's drawing. 3 stick figures, holding hands. Your address was on the luggage tag, he said sheepishly. Come in, she answered. Sophie ran to him like he'd never left. The apartment, once quiet and dim, suddenly felt full, and just like that a shift. But peace rarely lasts long. A knock at the door. A man in a suit, badge on his belt. Colonel Cole, we need to talk about the Cairo file. Ethan's expression changed, posture straight, tension back in his spine. I'm sorry, he said, and stepped outside. That night, Claire scoured the internet again. The Cairo file. Rumors. A mission gone wrong. Civilian casualties. A man buried in guilt. No calls. No texts. A week passed. Her heart ached with a strange emptiness. Until one morning, Ethan stood at her door again. Sunrise behind him. I thought I was protecting you by keeping my past out, he said. But maybe I was the one who needed protecting. He told her everything about Cairo, the decision he made, the life it cost, and the guilt that followed him home. I wanted you to see me, not just the uniform. I never flinched, Ethan, Claire whispered. I just didn't know. Sophie barreled in, pajamas and all. You came back. I said I would, Ethan replied, hugging her tightly. Over coffee, Claire asked what came next. That's up to you, Ethan said. I don't want to be here out of duty. I want to choose this. Choose you. For the first time, Claire reached for his hand, and he took it. A year later, Sophie graduated kindergarten. Ethan stood at the back of the school auditorium, not hiding, just present. When Sophie ran to him, arms open, Claire felt the final piece click into place. Not everyone gets a second chance, but some people become it. Not with grand gestures, but with presence, patience, quiet love. Sometimes, Claire thought, the hero isn't the one who saves you at 30,000 feet, but the one who chooses to stay when you land. So tell me, would you take a chance on someone with a complicated past? Because sometimes, trusting a stranger doesn't just lead to safety, it leads to family. The seasons had shifted more than once since that flight over Nebraska, but Claire Morgan still remembered every second like it had just happened. Now, the scent of summer drifted through open windows. Sophie, with skinned knees and tangled curls, ran barefoot through the grass of a small park just outside the city. Her laughter carried on the breeze, unburdened, unafraid. Claire sat on a bench, sunglasses perched in her hair, a sketchpad open in her lap, not for work, just for herself. For once, beside her, Ethan Cole, no longer just a quiet stranger from seat 22, leaned back against the bench, fingers laced loosely with hers. No uniform, no burden on his face, just the stillness of someone who had finally come home. Not to a place, but to people. Do you ever think, Claire said softly, how close we were to never meeting? Ethan didn't answer right away. He watched Sophie as she showed her crayon masterpiece to a dog who barked in polite confusion. Every day, he said. And every day, I thank God I sat in that seat. Claire smiled. It was the kind of smile born from pain endured and peace earned. She hadn't imagined happiness could feel like this, steady, not loud, like hands that held but didn't pull, like someone who stayed quietly until the storms passed. Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded, faded piece of paper. Sophie's old drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands. The original. You kept it? She asked. It reminded me what I wanted to fight for, he replied. Claire leaned her head on his shoulder, and for a while, they said nothing. A bell rang from the distance, the kind ice cream trucks carry like promises. Sophie's eyes widened, and she sprinted back toward them. Mom? Ethan, can we race you? Ethan challenged, already moving. Claire laughed, chasing after them after this life she never saw coming, and in that moment, she knew it hadn't been the seat. It hadn't even been the flight. It was the choice to let someone in, to stay, even when things got complicated. Love didn't always arrive with fireworks or sweeping speeches. Sometimes, it came in the form of a man who said quietly, "You don't have to carry it all alone," and then proved it every day after.